Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining. Here we are to go over today's Crypto Market Watch Instant Insights. So, lots of stuff to go over today. First of all, we have a little bit of a shift from, if we were doing this just even a couple of hours ago. Let me see how far it's fallen now. Get this here. Crazy amount. In fact, going through the volume, yes. E and J, here we go. So it's actually not that far from where it's been. It's just that its first climb was from so low to not too far from where it is right now that it was up to 114%, and at its top volume, 38,000 plus Bitcoins in 24-hour period of time. So you can actually see that it's done the first two of what's likely going to be three spikes. The third of them is going to be a little bit different looking. Don't know that it's. I would not expect it to get up there again. If it does, right now I'm looking at this at 2:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the morning crowd could pick things up all over again. But don't be led astray by just the percentages alone. It's kind of kicking into second gear. So KNC at the top of the 24-hour change on Binance. So looking at that, hello. So this started, I guess it's going on pretty long time. It's been doing that. Interesting. So about 2 days. And it's, it's starting to peak out there a little bit. But isn't that interesting? It took a while to do that, so it kind of hid under those few little percentages here and there, and then boom. So KNC not usually a huge contender, but the 6,600 BTC 24-hour volume. So one of the things that's interesting about what's going on here is that the volume for Bitcoin is still not extremely high, but it's high compared to what the average has been for a couple of months. And you might be able to say, well, isn't that what it does? And when you see what it can do compared to what it's currently doing, it's interesting to see everything against USD too. When you look at what it's capable of doing, we're just getting started. This is about a fifth of what we've seen before. That market is still there. People that have sold out have sold in order to get back in. A lot of them. So still maintaining what it has been doing. It's been kind of zooming by, trying to keep a 3850 average. That's kind of what I've called for several weeks now, and it seems to me that it is continuing to hold true, that this may actually right here be the first trend that I've seen where it was able to hold several days on the whole, still making an upward progress and staying over 3800 at the same time. So you can see it dropped down into the 36s here. It dropped into the 37s there. It dropped into the 36s over here. But it just literally, this one is 3800 on the nose, if I'm looking at the right one. Yeah, you can see it's right on the line. So this is actually a good trend. Just every time I see a good trend, my expectation is that it's going to put things in a prime target where the assumption is that it'll head that extremely in the other direction, making it perfect for beating short positions, and shorts have definitely been causing some volatility in the wrong direction. So I'm going to be watching to see just how long this can uptrend. The longer the better. It's one of those things where my instinct added to experience, watching it day in and day out, says that this doesn't quite get up here again until there's something that knocks it down. It's not just support and resistance, it's pre-planned targets. So support and resistance is something that's supposed to be a little bit more of a behavioral psychological effect of everybody watching the same things and having the similar expectations. So WAN is up. Pretty much most things are up. The only things that are down are the things that were previously overly up. So Phoenix is still actually doing very well. It's in the mid threes. Raven is way over its average in the 800s. Doc is doing okay. Fun needs to double. That's all I can say for it. This little guy right here did a miniature version of what we see over here. And this goes back to the beginning of the year, so not too terribly bad. I do expect that all of these coins are going to have their moment. I did notice, I mean, this is, go to a slightly shorter trend so you can see a little more of what's going on up to current time. BCD was spiking earlier today, not as much now, but yeah, right around here. MITH has been interesting. Poor Encash just can't get together, not yet anyway. DNT, you're going to have your day still. For it being as low in volume, going from here to here has been impressive. So we actually are looking for it to get into the 400s for some of our stuff. And it'll get there. It will get there. It will. It's going to get there. So 2500 is 2700 was hitting a new peak after a long time, and it should be able to get even to the 5s and 6s if we see something truly phenomenal that I think is maybe on the horizon. We're starting to kind of get over some of the first lull, and that means, whether this is not completely natural, which I think it's not just natural movement, there is some optimism in the air. I'm going to start to catch up some really interesting news. I think I'm going to do shorter, smaller segments just so that when stuff comes by, I can just nail it right then and be more current. This stuff is really something to keep up with, I tell you. These have been pretty interesting. Let me go back to where we were. I'm actually going to do the 5 minute. I think the 5 minute is more helpful right this minute. And this doesn't need to be a really long analysis. I just wanted to make sure and capture this while things have been just, pretty off the charts. It's kind of a nice change up to see. Mana was able to get in some profit there, so that was nice. S&D, DND, Theta, always a big one. Showing really good movement. I mean, this is definitely a good one to get in positions on. You can see about 100 or so in either direction, sometimes about 200 there. So for a position like this, it only needs to go up about 30 points to make a percent. And that's pretty much what it's moving by in there, so that's pretty cool. Nano, I always like to see it getting a little more energized. That's pretty impressive. So you see things are making their peaks. That's the thing, is that, a lot of times if something goes down this much, it needs 3 times the oomph to get back up. And we'll go over the reasons why. It's all part of the principle of thirds, believe it or not. Considering going back on IOST, it usually ends up taking longer of a cycle than I'm used to, but it's still going higher in its 24-hour BTC volume. So that's good. MFT, a little bit up. We have some really early MFT, actually just one, and that'll probably end up being one of our few losses just because it was so ridiculously high. Waves, getting in that range. This was significant. I was saying that it would make it to 7,300, and it made it to 72. And that was up from 66. So, actually, it went all the way from 65. So not too bad, off by 100. But it's a really good one to watch for just kind of continuous movement. It does tend to clear pretty well. It's a little bit more of an adjustment to my brain for the kind of stuff that we've been watching. Sometimes you have to watch it for longer trends than I'm able to kind of tune myself into. All the scanners and signals and everything in the world cannot compete with having the concentration level to make the right organic decision right on top of the right time. I've tried bots, I've tried signal groups, people that give out free signals, not the ones that scam you by taking other people's signals, and not the ones that scam you by giving signals that are based on their other pump group. Yes, I've seen all those different things, but no, sometimes people have some decent information and they put it out there, but usually it's a little hit or miss, and the hit part usually takes a week or two. And, that isn't speedy for anybody. So we have some in the 800 for REQ. So this is kind of a nice thing to see. I mean, if it could make it up about 80, then, this starts to be something that people are watching. I'm surprised it's done it as much as it has, still with as little volume as it has. So I'm going to take a look real quick, just watch Bitcoin for a second. Seeing 131,761. 131 million. Yeah, so I mean, it is going down in volume a little bit. It climbed really nice, and a lot of things kind of over exaggerated their movement with it, so not bad. Made some good money off of E&J today. Very happy about that. One of the big surprises being BNT. You can see it normally lives. I mean, this has been pretty consistent in the 1375, and that's a big old jump. It does not usually happen for BNT. It's usually sitting about 50 Bitcoin 24-hour volume. It's usually at the very bottom of the list, but it's a fairly significant project, and it's a model for others to follow, or it will end up growing into one of those models. I'm certain there's some very powerful people involved in that. One in particular. Gotta sneeze. Hold on. Oh, thank you, mute. You are the greatest button. Okay, very cool. So overall, the green is good. I would be very cautious from here forward. I don't see it being the kind of thing that's just going to keep going up and up and up. But I think that we'll see a healthy recirculation. So just anything that's already up there, just heed the warning of being very cautious and watching your signals and charts and indicators and stuff. Very good, very honed in. Fed attention, pay good attention, because falling off the cliff, there's a good chance that something is going to live in here again. What goes up can come down. The gravity has been pretty darn heavy in the crypto world. 60% down, then 50% down of that, and then 60% of that. So you put all that together, and we still have miles up that we could go. So, man, if I were to call a buy-in point, I would say this is it. So things to be interested in and concerned about just in the news. The same general stuff. If there's any of those little scare stories that circulate around, they're always just such a prime opportunity for those that know what's coming next to get in at an even better price. So try to avoid being the thing that somebody leapfrogs on top of. And just whenever you see something that is optimistically high, I would be careful that you either know what you're doing and you're in for the long haul because you think that this is always going to become this and you're willing to take your risks, or plan for it to actually look pretty monumental compared to what it's been down here. And when the volume does fall, very likely those positions will start to at least hit a new average. My hope, the reason I keep talking about Bitcoin's average is that if it can hold something that is a fairly constant, temporary constant. I know the volatility is always going to be there, but if it can show that it's got an actual middle, that it's actually some perceived volume value of some sort, other things will be able to settle into some of these higher places, which is really good for the whole market, because if Bitcoin is strong and they're both strong, then people are going to see the value in buying and selling both of them. So good stuff. Very good stuff. Volatility doesn't need to be 10, 20, 30, 40%, spike and dip. It doesn't need to be that huge of a variance for it to be extremely profitable. You're almost better being able to grab a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that, than to be in here with the same exact amount of money and try to wait with the hopes that it does this. And that's the thing, is for everything that's done that, there's others that have only done 0.5%, or are now down 10%. Like, oh, I just don't understand what people are thinking. Yeah, 577 BTC to buy in at 18 when it's done nothing but come down from 28. People are losing money in the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Bitcoins that they could be putting into these guys that have lots of 1%, 2%, 3% movement over and over and over and over and over and over again. So, we play with a very safe range. We, once again, the principle of thirds, where we're looking for positions that provide, some kind of cushion. And then, sometimes if you've measured other things, you can decide whether it's worth more risk than that. MTH is interesting in that it's got some room to grow. It's done enough of this healthy. It's already been up here. It's already come back down to here. So there's a chance that it's still got room to go up. Lots of interesting little pieces here. So thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe, ring the bell, comment, give us a thumbs up, get in touch. We like to hear from you. Join us on archangelalts.com. We are also, unless I completely change my mind, which I don't think I will. I don't know. Maybe. No, I won't. Maybe. I don't know. Okay, just kidding. Since we're doing the Twitter tweet stuff, check us out there, and I'll make sure that we get our links updated in our YouTube descriptions. But we're doing a hashtag crypto louder megaphone, because this is an attempt to lead the way of a revolution, a crypto revolution. We want it to be a people's movement. We don't want it to be waiting around for backed with microphone and Microsoft and Starbucks and BCG and the New York Stock Exchange and its parent company ICE, the Intercontinental or International Exchange. We don't want to have to wait around for these things. The Winklevosses who want all the regulation, all of them want to be able to prove to the government that there's stability in order to get approval. And yeah, it's just, that's a guaranteed change to the marketplace. And we want this market. This is the one we want. And the reason for that is because, not in contrast to mass adoption. So hashtag mass adoption, hashtag crypto louder megaphone on Twitter. We're using it. We're trying to use that. We're trying to motivate people, excite people, get people excited about what is happening in the market. So that's where we're coming from. And we hope that you will come to join along. So until next time, guys, Archangel Alts out.